was in December of 2020. I was about 6 months pregnant. I was on assignment in New Orleans as a travel ER nurse. My husband is from the area of Southeast Louisiana, and he told me when I took the assignment, please promise me you will never stop in New Orleans to help anybody when you're by yourself. He knows me. He knows I have a problem with it. And so, okay, I was like, I promise. He's like, you're pregnant, be safe. Okay. So I worked the 11 to 11 shift. At that time, I was precepting a new grad nurse, and we had all COVID patients, and they had all gotten rooms upstairs. So he was like, go ahead and go. I'll take them all upstairs before I leave, and that way you don't have to re-get in all the COVID garb. So I said, okay, headed out a little early. So there was this one little homeless man that sat up against a wall by a heater vent of this big building on this same street every single night for almost the entirety of my contract. I had been there about 10 weeks at this point. He always had his belongings packed very neatly up next to him. I saw this man every single shift I worked, and every single shift at the same time when I left, he was always in the same spot, always the same way. So on this particular night, I had left work a little bit early. It was nighttime, and it was when we had the cold snap. It was very, very cold. So I remember driving up. It's not very well lit, but I see his belongings spread all over the sidewalk in the road. And he was laying out across, like his body was across the white line, like the bike lane, in the road. And immediately that raised a red flag, because I said, okay, this is not his normal, which I know sounds weird because I don't know the person, but I try to observe things and I'm like, that's just not his normal, what I see. So then at that point, I realized there's a big, tall gentleman standing over him. And what I'm assuming as an ER nurse in New Orleans is, number one, he's either OD'd on something, or he's hypothermic because the weather, it was like 20 degrees. And he's, coding. So this gentleman is bending down to give him CPR. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop and assist. And so I slow down to a stop, and I see this guy bending down over him, and I reach for my door handle, and all of a sudden something tells me, like, don't do it. It's probably my husband. He was like right here. Do not stop in New Orleans for anyone. So I was like, oh gosh. So I drove off very slow, looking in my rearview mirror and like just taking in everything I could take in so that I could call 911. So I call 911, and I'm getting up into the freeway, interstate, whatever you want to call it. So as I call 911, I realize I know the name of none of these streets. So I call them and I'm like, hey, my name is Amanda. I'm a travel nurse at such and such hospital, and I think there's a CPR in progress. I didn't want to stop. I'm pregnant, but can you send somebody to go check? It's literally like a block from the hospital. So they're like, do you know any directions? I was like, okay, you go out from the hospital, you take a left, go through the light. It's 2 streets up, blah, blah, blah. So she's like, okay, we'll try to send somebody. So, my drive home is an hour. So I'm sitting there and I get a phone call back. Hey, this is, New Orleans dispatch. Can you please tell us again where you saw this person down? So I give them directions again. Literally, I was like, if you walk out from the ER, this is the way to go. Well, I finally make it home. They'd called me 2 more times to clarify. I finally make it home, tell my husband what happened. He's like, thank you for not getting out of the car. I'm like, yeah, and I described to him in detail what I saw. So get out of the shower, and I have 5 missed calls from a New Orleans number. And I was like, that's weird. That's suspicious. So I call it back and I say, hey, I've missed some calls from this number. And the lady on the other end goes, hey, she finally called back. So this guy gets on the phone and he says, hi, this is Detective so-and-so with New Orleans PD homicide. And you witnessed a homicide tonight and just wanted to talk to you. No, I witnessed someone getting CPR, sir. And he's like, well, we found the person we assume you're talking about. And when we got there, he was super dead. With multiple stab wounds. And, can you come back? Can you meet me down at the police station tonight? No, sir, I cannot. I am very pregnant and just worked 12 hours and I live an hour and 5 minutes away from New Orleans. He's like, okay, well, I'll meet you at work tomorrow. Great. So the detective shows up at my work the next day and interviews me, and he says, "Can you show me the motion that the gentleman was doing?" And I was like, now that you mention it, it does look a little bit stabby. So, whoops, sorry. And, he basically did let me know, like, I made the right decision by not getting out of the car. I was able to describe the guy down to, like, what he had hanging from his hair. Turns out he was wanted for more than one murder. And he actually ended up confessing because they picked him up the next night, sleeping in the same spot that he had murdered the guy in. And thanks to my description, they were able to do that. But had I stopped, probably would have been a whole different outcome for me.
So I went to Walmart this morning just to grab a few things because my allergies was going nuts. And what happens? Some weird dude decides to follow me around the store. Not only did he follow me, but he waited until I was in line, and he'd gotten between me and this other lady and brushed up against me as if he was just trying to pass through the line. The woman behind me said he was so close, it was like he was trying to smell me. So I alerted the people that, hey, there's a guy following me, even pointed him out, and they alerted security. Now, I'm not scared because as I'm checking out, I'm making sure my clip is in my gun and that there's a round in the chamber. He followed me outside, and I knew he was following me. So when I let him get close enough for me to turn around my mouse tool, he threw his hands in the air and hollered, "Oh, I was just trying to holler at you." Sir, my girl's about to sing 2 or 3 rounds into your skull. Stop following women, or that's the consequences you'll be met with. Oh, he was arrested.
Woo! Buckle up, Buttercup, because it's about to get wild. So I had a boyfriend. I live in Arkansas. He decided to go up to Maryland to take care of his mom, but he wasn't taking care of his mom. He was cheating on me. Big whoop. Everybody does that. Well, he gets old girl pregnant, and in his twisted mind, he decided the best course of action was to push her down the stairs, try to kill the baby so that I wouldn't find out about the baby. Well, obviously, he goes to prison for domestic violence, and his sister took it upon herself to give me a call and tell me that he died, fakes his death, fakes his memorial procession, all this kinds of crazy shit, okay? And I mourned him for 1.5 years, all to get a call while I'm sitting in the tattoo parlor that he's now out of prison, and he wants to rekindle things. Obviously didn't happen. Cherry on top, they named that kid after me.
I started moving into a new house today and I already got the cops called on me. Like, look, I'm literally here just cleaning. I haven't even moved that much stuff in, okay? Anyway, they get here and they tell me that my neighbor is mad because I parked my car in my front yard. It's not their front yard. They're across the street. There's a road in between us. I have my own front yard. I own this house. And they're mad because I am backed in to my own yard, carrying some stuff in, like cleaning supplies. So they call the cops on me instead of just saying something to me, which wouldn't have mattered because I wouldn't have moved my car. Anyway, they mess with the wrong, petty, heartbroken, because now for the rest of my life, it is my job to annoy them, starting right now.
Why do you have recorded?